Students, a very good morning to all of you and welcome to the class. As you know, we are doing the textual analysis of the poem The Ghaghra in Spate by famous Indian English poet K.K. N. Daruwala. Till now, we have read that every year the river Ghaghra changes her course as if a person turning over and over in his sleep. In the afternoon, the river is a grey smudge exploring a grey canvas. We have read that very beautifully Daruwala describes the scene when he says that at the dusk, as the dusk reaches, the river is seen through an overhang of clouds and the color of the water becomes similar to the color of stewed coffee. And next he says that when night approaches, the moon is in one of its decreasing shapes. She appears to be like a red wheel across the spine of the land. If one drives through the road at dusk, one would not know that there is a flood. The landscape appears to be superbly equipoised. Rice shoots in the fields are seen pricking through a stretch of water and light. Spiked shadows of inverted trees, kingfishers, and gulls are seen in the water. Daruwala says that as twilight thins, the road appears to be a black stretch running between the stars. And in the next lines, we have read that Daruwala describes what happens when the night arrives. At night, when the river is flooded, it would appear as if the whole north was coming to the village riding on riverbank. There would be 20 minutes of nightmare spin. During this time, everything would appear to be twisting and turning. Fear becomes phantasmal. The half street goes churning in the flood waters. It was the time when people lighted lamps by hearing voices. People soon moved their bamboo rafts to reach the place of safety. Through the village, the flooded river moves forward, turning the thatched houses and dung cakes into the river scum. So we have read that people are stranded, they can be seen on the rooftops, and at the same time a buffalo may float over to such a rooftop. Because of its 3 days hunger, the buffalo's udder have become red-rimmed and swollen with milk extortion. So now we come to the lines that we are going to go through today. So let us come to the text. Children have spirit enough in them to cheer the rescue boats. The men are still life subjects, oozing wet looks. They don't rave or curse, for they know the river's slang are aggro. No one sends up prayers to a washed sky, for prayers are parabolic. They will come down with a flop anyway. Instead, there is a slush stampede outside the booth where they are doing out salt and grain. So, as people have been rescued, Daruwala delineates, and they are awe-stricken. On the other hand, children, they are happy despite the problems created by the flood. They are enthusiastic and cheer up the rescue boats when they move from one place carrying the people affected by the flood. And Daruwala says that how do the people look? People, they look, he writes, The men are still life subjects, oozing wet looks. So, people, they are standing like statues, observing the scenes of destruction. They are fully drenched in water. If a painter wished to make a painting entitled Still Life, they would have appealed to him as suitable models. And what are these people doing? They are just standing there. They don't rave or curse, for they know the river's slang, her aggot. No one sends up prayers to a wasted sky, for prayers are parabolic. They will come down with a flop anyway. So these people, they are not talking wildly or cursing others for the problems which they have been facing. They know the nature of the river, they know its habit, and they could guess the inconveniences and difficulties it could offer them. Daruvala says that usually what happens when we are in problem, we send prayers to a sky which remains wasted. Usually, no one sends prayers to a sky which remains wasted. It is also a known fact that prayers use figurative language, and if they are offered to the sky, they are liable to come down with a flop sound. Here, the poet intends to say that prayers usually remain unanswered for so many people. So, here it appears that Daruvala is more concerned about the realities of life. And same happens with the people who are devastated. So these people, they crowd outside the booth where free supply of salt and grain is being given to those people affected by the flood. People are engaged in a stampede, in a slush. So here we come to know that Ghagra and its flood have done a lot of destruction and devastation. People seem disinterested in offering prayer. They crowd before the booth where free salt and grain is being given. So next, Daruvala says, 10 miles to her flank, peasants go fishing in rice fields and women in chauffeur-driven cars go looking for driftwood. But it's when she recedes that the Ghagra turns bitchy, sucking with animal heat, cross eddies, diving like frogmen and swaying away the waterfront in a paranoid frenzy. Daruvala says that along the sides of the river, for a distance of 10 miles, peasants used to go for fishing in rice fields. And what do women do? Wealthy women, they travel in a chauffeur-driven car to go for, they look for driftwood. Driftwood usually is used for making decorative wood carvings and sculptures. So women in chauffeur-driven car went in search of them only to collect them as curious pieces, not for people seeking the help of the river. Peasants use the river water to earn their livelihood, but fashionable ladies use it only as a reservoir of its relics. Here we can see the two contrasting features of human life have been depicted by this sensitive poet. She flees from the scene of her own havoc, threshing with pain. Behind her the land sinks, houses sag onto their knees in a farewell obeisance. And miles to the flank, the paddy fields will hoard the fish till the mud enters into a conspiracy with the sun and strangles them. So now we come to the last part of the poem, and now the poet describes that what happens when the water recedes. When the Ghagra withdraws the flood waters from the village, a lot of changes happen there. The river shows its arrogance and impudence. It sucks up the land and leaves it fully deprived of all its charm. At some places, the flow of water currents show the habit of forgeman who dives into bottom of the sea. Just as sawing is done with a saw, the waterfronts are cut down with frenzy. The poet says that the river Ghagra shows its violent character when the flood water recede. The river does the act of destruction as if it had some grudge towards the land which preserved its characteristic features. So, just like an angry woman, the river leaves the place of devastation. Behind her lies the land of full destruction. The houses have bent down as if they were showing farewell obeisance to the receding flood waters. The paddy fields on the sides of river that stretch up to miles keep a number of fish in them. The mud collected in these fields start drying up in sun, and fishes get entrapped in the mud. The poet says that it appears as if the mud entered into a conspiracy with the sun to strangle the fish. So students, here the textual analysis comes to an end. Thank you very much.